Lesson 98. Size. Take. What size shoes do you take?
I take size 7 shoes.
Stockings. What do some women prefer to wear instead of tights?
Some women prefer to wear stockings instead of tights.
Damage. If you borrowed a friend's bicycle and damaged it in an accident, would you pay to have it fixed?
Yes, if I borrowed a friend's bicycle and damaged it in an accident, I'd pay to have it fixed.
Violent. Do you think life is more violent these days than it was in the past?
No, I don't think life is more violent these days than it was in the past.
Navy. Would you like to join the Navy?
No, I wouldn't like to join the Navy.
Why not?
I think I'd find it boring.
Club. Do you belong to any clubs?
Yes, I belong to a club.
Are there a lot of nightclubs in this town?
Yes, there are a lot of nightclubs in this town.
Accept. Reject. Do you think a person should accept life as it is or try to change it?
I think a person should accept life as it is.
Why?
Because they'll probably be happier.
If you were walking along the street and a stranger tried to give you money for no reason, would you reject the offer?
No, if I was walking along the street and a stranger tried to give me money for no reason, I wouldn't reject the offer, I'd accept it.
Arch. Can you think of any famous arches in the world?
Yes, I can think of some famous arches in the world. Constantine's Arch in Rome, etc.
Rock. Would you jump into a river if you thought there might be rocks under the water?
No, I wouldn't jump into a river if I thought there might be rocks under the water.
How to make a question. How do we make a question with the present simple and the past simple?
We make a question with the present simple and the past simple by using the auxiliary verb do.
Give me some examples, please.
Do you want some tea? Did she see the film last night?
And how do we make a question with verbs that already contain one or more auxiliaries?
With verbs that already contain one or more auxiliaries, we make a question by putting the subject after the first auxiliary verb.
Give me an example, please.
Are you going to the party?
Now, I will say a statement and I want you to change it into a question. Michael can play the guitar.
Can Michael play the guitar?
Susan goes shopping on Saturdays.
Does Susan go shopping on Saturdays?
It will rain later.
Will it rain later?
George made a mistake.
Did George make a mistake?
This bus is going to the city centre.
Is this bus going to the city centre?
They should save their money.
Should they save their money?
We have to go now.
Do we have to go now?
They had been working for more than 2 hours.
had they been working for more than 2 hours?
Matter equals to be important. Occasionally. What is the matter? No matter. Please. Taste. If we want to live a healthy life, does it matter what kind of food we eat?
Yes, if we want to live a healthy life, it matters what kind of food we eat.
What kind of food ought we to eat?
The kind of food we ought to eat is fruit, fish, vegetables, etc.
Does it matter very much if we occasionally make a small mistake in our dictations?
No, it doesn't matter very much if we occasionally make a small mistake in our dictations.
Would it matter to you if you lived in a place with nowhere to go for entertainment?
Yes, it'd matter to me if I lived in a place with nowhere to go for entertainment.
If I suddenly went like this, what would you ask me?
If you suddenly went like that, I'd ask you, what's the matter?
Do you find that no matter what you do, you can't please everyone?
Yes, I find that no matter what I do, I can't please everyone.
Why is this so?
Because people have different tastes, ideas, and opinions.
Right equals entirely. What's the time right now?
The time right now is 7 minutes past 11.
What's the name of a country right in the north of Europe?
The name of a country right in the north of Europe is Norway or Finland.
Choose. Chose. Chosen. What are the three forms of choose?
The three forms of choose are choose, chose, chosen.
Who chose the shoes you're wearing?
I chose the shoes I'm wearing myself.
Have you chosen where you're going to go for your next holiday?
No, I haven't chosen where I'm going to go for my next holiday.
Force. Persuasion. Do you believe that more is gained by force than by persuasion?
No, I don't believe that more is gained by force than by persuasion.
Bow. Is a bow any use without arrows?
No, a bow isn't any use without arrows.
Natural. Is it natural for cats to spend a lot of their time sleeping?
Yes, it's natural for cats to spend a lot of their time sleeping.
Invent. What would you like to invent?
I'd like to invent a time machine.
Speech. Have you ever made a speech in public?
Yes, I've made a speech in public.
Quite a few. What does the expression quite a few mean?
The expression quite a few means a fairly large number of.
Give me an example, please.
There were quite a few people at the party.
Draw, drew, drawn. Recognizable. What are the three forms of draw?
The three forms of draw are draw, drew, drawn.
If you drew this table across the floor, do you think it'd leave a mark behind it?
Yes, if I drew this table across the floor, I think it'd leave a mark behind it.
If you drew my face, do you suppose it'd be recognizable?
Yes, if I drew your face, I suppose it'd be recognizable.
Why?
Because I can draw well.
About how long ago is it since everything was drawn by horses?
It's about 100 years since everything was drawn by horses.
Pass. Go away.
Lesson 99. At last. Lastly. When do we use the expression at last?
We use the expression at last when we feel that we have been waiting for a long time for something to happen, and then it happens.
Give me an example, please.
Ah, here you are at last. Where have you been?
When do we use the word lastly?
We use the word lastly to say the last thing in a list.
Give me an example, please.
We need to paint this office, buy some new computers, and lastly, get better desks for everyone.
Which word can we use instead of at last or lastly?
We can use the word finally instead of at last or lastly.
Give me an example of the word finally, please.
Ah, finally, here's the bus. She finished her work, turned off the computer, put on her jacket, and finally left the office.
Claim. Lawyer. Damages. Property. Lost property office. Take someone to court. If I claimed to be a millionaire, would you believe me?
No, if you claim to be a millionaire, I wouldn't believe you.
Why not?
Because you wouldn't be teaching here now.
If someone hit your car and it was definitely their fault, could you claim damages against them?
Yes, if someone hit my car and it was definitely their fault, I could claim damages against them.
If they rejected your claim, what did you do?
If they rejected my claim, I'd take them to court.
If a relation of yours died and left you some land or other property, where do you have to go in order to claim it legally?
If a relation of mine died and left me some land or other property, I'd have to go to a lawyer's office in order to claim it legally.
Where must you go to claim things that you've left on the train?
I must go to the lost property office to claim things I've left on the train.
Youth. The youth. A youth. Do old people often talk about what life was like in their youth?
Yes, old people often talk about what life was like in their youth.
Do you think the youth of today are better educated than the youth of 100 years ago?
No, I don't think the youth of today are better educated than the youth of 100 years ago. I think they're worse educated.
What kind of work can a youth do better than an old man?
A youth can do physical work better than an old man.
Clauses. Group. Conjunction. What's a clause?
A clause is any group of words with a subject and a main verb.
What's a conjunction?
A conjunction is a word that joins clauses together to make long sentences.
Give me an example of a sentence that contains two clauses joined together by a conjunction, please.
I love chocolate because it tastes so good.
Main clause. Dependent or subordinate clause. To make sense. What's the difference between a main clause and a dependent clause?
The difference between a main clause and a dependent clause is that a main clause contains the main message of the sentence, whereas a dependent clause contains other information.
Which is the main clause in this sentence? If I don't sleep enough, I feel tired.
I feel tired is the main clause in that sentence.
And which is a dependent clause?
If I don't sleep enough is the dependent clause.
Give me a sentence starting with a conjunction, please.
When I visit my mum, I'll tell her the news. If the weather is good, we can go for a walk in the park.
Which conjunctions cannot start a sentence?
The conjunctions and, or, and but cannot start a sentence.
Descend, descent. From this floor of the building, do we have to descend to go outside?
Yes, from this floor of the building, we have to descend to go outside.
What's the noun of the verb descend?
The noun of the verb descend is descent.
Holy. Jerusalem. Is Jerusalem a holy place for many people in the world?
Yes, Jerusalem is a holy place for many people in the world.
Confess. If you are not able to do something, do you think it's better to confess the fact?
Yes, if I'm not able to do something, I think it's usually better to confess the fact.
Sure. Which is safer, to build a house on the seashore or on the shore of a lake?
It's safer to build a house on the shore of a lake.
Why?
Because the weather is not so rough.
Athlete.